Hey, how's it going, guys? Chris Teresi here, professional sports bettor, founder of WeCoverSpreads.com. Here to give you guys my thoughts, a little bit of market breakdown on the Wednesday card. First things first, though, if you guys want, my premium cards up on the site. 59% winners this year in college hoops, 67% all sports run over the last couple of weeks. Doing really solid. So if you guys want, you could pick up my card today. I felt we found some really good value on some games that are a little obscure, a little off the radar with the normal bettor, but that's what this is all about, finding value. And I got a 5-star bet locked and loaded, a couple 4-star bets, and may add something later on as the evening goes on. And the first things first, I guess we'll just go through the market report with the most popular, you could say, recreational bets from Squares or Joe's, whatever you guys want to call them. The most popular recreational bettor money in no particular order: Indiana, Rhode Island, St. Joe's, UNC, Kansas, Pitt, UNLV, are all probably make out the top list. I think USC you could probably throw in there with the West Coast guys and stuff. So that's probably rounds out the list of the top teams that I'd look at. To but we'll talk about some of those teams because there's a couple of those teams that I do like, and a couple of those teams that I would probably definitely stay away from. And the Indiana one to start off with, that line looks about right to me. I think Indiana should beat NC State, but I'm in no rush to get down on that one. And I'll get into the rest of them. But first things first, let's start with UNLV. Traveling to the Thunderdome to play UC Santa Barbara off the huge upset win against North Carolina. My personal numbers, I have two sets of power ratings that I like to use personally, that I devise by hand. One set has UNLV -4, the other set had UNLV -6. I like to combine them, come up with an average number, and I came up with 5 on this game. Saw it open up at 4, and to tell you the truth, I wasn't really happy with the 4. I was hoping we get a little bit better line, but it didn't happen, and the line is absolutely shot down. Sharps just gobbled up the 4, and now we're looking at you're looking at 2.5s out there, pretty much across the board. 3s, a couple of 3s as I record this, but that's where it's at. The 4s are gobbled up. I was hoping since I like to use power rate rankings, I think you need to, if you're going to bet college basketball, you need to have your own power ratings and have your own number on these games, because there's so many games, and if you don't have a number, your own personal number, your opinion to compare to the way these lines open, you're doing yourself an injustice, and you probably won't turn a profit come the end of the basketball season. It's just much too difficult if you don't have your own numbers to go off of to bet college basketball. So for me, the number to me is too low right now for Santa Barbara. Even at 4, it wasn't enough for me to trigger it. But I'm gonna tell you this much here: I really lean Santa Barbara in this game. Throwing numbers out the window. I like Santa Barbara in this game. I think they could win it outright. I feel that UNLV is in a letdown spot, coming off the huge win off of UNC, and the Thunderdome is never the easiest place to play. I think San Diego State saw that when they traveled here a few days ago, and UC Santa Barbara. They had the lead for quite a good hunk of that game, and they let it go, and they lost by 1 in overtime. But I think this is a tough spot for UNLV, and I think Santa Barbara plays lights out today. UNLV coming off the big win could be flat, and I would look to either stay away from UNLV, pass UNLV, or take Santa Barbara. But I think if you got 4, that was the best it was going to get. And to me, I have to respect the numbers. Like, sometimes if I'm really strong about it, I'll throw the numbers out the window and just bet off the situation or the gut. But in this spot, the number just wasn't strong enough, and especially now at 2.5, not strong enough for me to get down on it. But sharps like Santa Barbara, I also like them. I think it's a tough spot for UNLV. Next game, the team that UNLV upset, UNC Wisconsin. A huge game, Big Ten ACC battle. Everybody wants to talk about this game. This is a big game here. Numbers show a very, very, very close two-possession game here for Wisconsin, being able to keep this within 4.5. Throwing those numbers directly out the window, though. I think this is a game here. UNC comes out, and I honestly feel they come out and they throttle Wisconsin by 10 plus in this game. Just think it's going to be a tough spot. I would not want to be playing North Carolina in these next few games. I wouldn't want them here at home. I know Harrison Barnes is playing. This is a tough travel spot for Wisconsin, I feel. Traveling in here against a UNC team that I feel Roy Williams will have ready and have highly motivated to come in here and play. And I think the athletes of UNC prevail here. So again, I'm throwing the number out the window. My number is pointing all over Wisconsin. If I look at it just off of numbers, I'd have to bet Wisconsin on the blind. But I think the situational aspect of it is it's UNC or nothing in this game here, because I think they're in a huge spot to bounce back coming off the tough loss. And like I said, I would not want to be a team that is coming up playing playing North Carolina at all these next few games. I think North Carolina really looks to lay it down against Wisconsin, and they have a tough game against Kentucky coming up as well. But I would not want to be Wisconsin today, put it that way. So I kind of lean the heels, and you may want to wait, because I think you'll may see this number drop a little more, because a lot of sharps numbers also reflect a much closer game than what the line is currently showing. Another game that I was leaning until I dug a little deeper. Florida State, I kind of liked them at first, playing Michigan State. What is essentially going to be a neutral floor for Michigan State. I mean, it's essentially a neutral court. It's not their normal home court that they'll be playing this game on. So I kind of took a couple of point or two off for that. But the more I look at it, I feel this sets up perfectly for Michigan State. They haven't left Michigan since way back when they went earlier in the year when they played Duke in New York. So they've been here the last few weeks. They're comfortable. They're at home. Florida State, meanwhile, they're coming off of 3 very competitive games, well, 2 very competitive games out of the country, and now they're in a rough travel spot, traveling. You know, they had the holiday layover. They played Harvard, UConn. Now they have to travel all the way up to Michigan. I think Florida State may come out a little bit flat here. My numbers show Florida State being about a 3.5 point dog here, but as I look at the situational spot, I have to throw the numbers out the window, which makes me hop off of this game. And I always like to respect my numbers, but I gotta respect the situation. And I think this is could be a tough spot for Florida State. Florida State, I think, can hang around the first half, but I think we may see some fatigue kick in here second half. So I know a lot of sharps have come in on Michigan State here. Michigan State is a sharp play, and after reaching out to various sources of mine, it was kind of confirmed that, you know, you're looking at a Michigan State team that is basically they're in the comfort zone right now, and they're playing a Florida State team that's coming off a pretty tough schedule, back-to-back games against Harvard and UConn. They were in out of the country playing in that tournament, so they played 3 games straight, and then they had a little layoff, and all that stuff. So it's kind of a tough spot for Florida State here. So situational, throw them out the window. Eastern Washington's a team I want to talk about, because they're a team I have pegged as being my under-the-radar team that I plan to make a lot of money with this year. I love what they have a great coach coming in, Jay Hayford. He won 79% of his games at Little Whitford up there in Washington. A great coach. I think they brought him in. He's going to do fabulous things with this program here. And odds makers definitely respected. They respect him and they respect that team right now, and I think a lot of sharps are going to also respect that team. This line opened up at only 2, Idaho -2. I seen it. I was hoping, I was praying, maybe we'll get like a 5 here or a 6, but nope, it opened at 2. It's been bet up to 4. Still not enough value. My line shows this game at 4. I wish this line was at 6 or higher. I'd be all over Eastern Washington, but tread lightly with Eastern Washington in this spot. I think they're going to be a great team. They're going to do a lot of good things. I bet them earlier this year against Oregon. They've been a beast against the spread so far, but I think this is the one game the line is short and it's against Eastern Washington, so actually I would actually lean Idaho in this spot because I think the line is still a little bit, right now it's on point, but when it was at 2 it was too short. It was 2 points too short. So right now at 4 it's right where it should be, so it's kind of a no, it falls in a no play zone. But if it does happen to creep up to 6, or 5.5, you're looking at a point and a half or 2 points of value with Eastern Washington. So keep your eye on that line, see if it creeps up that high. Another game that I kind of do like, Northern Iowa. I think that line should only be 4. A game again, I'm gonna see, it's Fred Hoiberg's first year coach in Iowa State, so I'm kind of getting a grasp of him, getting a feel for him. Very interested to watch that game, get a better feel for it. I felt the line when it opened up at I felt it opened up high. When it opened up at 6.5, I felt I almost triggered it. It came very close. I'm looking at it here. I think Northern Iowa can very well come in here and win this game outright. They play great defense, and I think they match up pretty good against Iowa State. Iowa State's been very high-powered offensively. They're averaging over 80 points a game compared to Northern Iowa, who's averaging only 64 a game. But Northern Iowa is a very solid defensive team. They force 16 turnovers a game. So I think they could keep in this game. I think they could keep it tight. I think they could play a close game here. They could be a live dog in this spot. Still feel the line is a little bit inflated slightly, but then again, I may be wrong, because Iowa State does have some good players. They have a lot of good players. Chris Babb, Chris Allen, a couple of guys, that are very talented offensive scorers. They have definitely the much better offensive team than Northern Iowa here, but I'd still give a lean to Northern Iowa. I look at the Notre Dame line. I know they're without their top scorer now, Tim Abromaitis. But this line, to me, should have only opened up at about 7.5 if he was in. I give about a 1.5 to a 2-point swing without their top scorer. So I looked at maybe a 9 or a 9.5. So right now at 11.5, it seems like the higher this line goes, the more I like Notre Dame. But it is a tough spot. We're seeing them in their first true road game. They've played a lot of cupcake teams, so my numbers may not be reflective of that yet. They may be a little bit too high in my numbers here, and Gonzaga is not an easy place to play. So very interested to watch this game here and see how Notre Dame does. We've seen them lose to a pretty bad Georgia team. We've seen them get blown out against Missouri, but still, to me, the line creeping up, in the 11.5, 12 range does seem a little bit high to me. So that's a game I would wait before tip off and maybe see what you could get Notre Dame at the best number possible. And one final lean I have on here, BYU. Felt this line open much too short. I personally thought this should have opened up around 17 or 18. Still scratching my head on why it's being bet down to 14. I guess I disagree with some of the guys in the marketplace, but I don't like to lay this type of points, unless I'm really definitely 1,000% positive that this is a game I love. I don't love them in this spot, but I do lean them heavy and I do like them a lot. And I think this is a spot here that you got to look at BYU against a Northern Arizona team that they should be able to dominate. I look at Northern Arizona. I mean, they haven't really, the 2 games they won were not D1 teams. They lost to North Dakota by 12 on a neutral, which was expected. They struggled by 19 against San Francisco. Failing to cover as an 11.5 point dog. Against Loyola Marymount, they lost by 20 as a 10.5 point dog. I could see them losing this by 17, 18. I just think this line here is a little bit short.